सर्वधर्मान् परित्यज्य मामेकं शरणं व्रज.
The miseries of material existence and the most hopeless conditions of life is the best possible opportunity to turn to God.
You're listening to Bare Knuckle Bhakti Shorties on the Bhakti Recovery Podcast with Jiva G, coming at you every Monday with a little spiritual something. Hey, Haribol, everyone. Good morning. Out for my walk. After weeks and weeks, the sun is out. I can't believe it. And it's like 6 degrees, which is pleasant for how it's been before. The sun out and 6 degrees, I'm happy. I'll take it. It's freaking April. Almost end of April. And there hasn't been one day of sunshine. Woo! That can get very depressing. Anyway, enough of that. Although, you know what? That does weigh down my mood noticeably. Having no sun, having it cold and gray and dark is really kind of gross. So, yeah, like I said, enough of that. Enough of the weather report. I wanted to talk about something actually really, really serious and quite deep. Which actually almost goes beyond my 12-step work. It goes beyond the 12-step work, it goes beyond therapy even. I want to share a little bit with you about my explorations of the self and the closets that I find that are stuffed with things that I one day thought perhaps I will deal with. And going through the closets of the mind, I realized that is like one of the most important missing pieces in my recovery, is to acknowledge not only that there are closets, and not only that my 4-step was only as clean as my conscious. My 4-step and 5th step, and this is what I think a lot of people don't understand, and what I always understood, but it was the gap between knowledge and the way I lived. There are closets, pockets of trauma, pockets of deep, deep sadness, loneliness, neglect. Those pockets have never, and thus closets have never been opened. They've been utilized. When those feelings come up, chuck them in the closet, close the door. Feelings come up, chuck them in the closet, close the door. And I'm going to tell you, this is the most, it's like shooting yourself in the knee. Or in the foot. We say in Germany, I think we say it in the knee. It's like shooting yourself in the foot. But I'm not saying this in order, when I'm speaking about myself, I'm not saying this in order to punish myself or you should have done better work or deeper work. I couldn't have, because I couldn't have dealt with it. Because if I could have, I would have. And I didn't. So this is and why is this so important, you know? And the thing is, so many people would think like, yeah, just chant and do this and don't concentrate on anything negative. There are people who take that approach, and God bless you if that works. That's what I call, for myself, if I did that, that would be spiritually bypassing. And why would that be spiritually bypassing? That would be putting a tablecloth, candlelight, that would be putting an altar, my altar, on top of a garbage pile. Who of us would do that? It's an option. Eventually the garbage stops stinking, but it'll never go away. It's an option, but it's not an option that has brought me any further in some areas that I want to move on with.
It hasn't. The gap between what I know and how I live. And then I'm going to make an addendum, and I only know what I know. There are things that I just don't know. Believe me, you think, maybe any of you think, I challenge you, just as I would challenge myself, to think that you have cleared it all up and you're good. You've done the therapy. You've done the 12 steps. Not only once, but twice. You've done therapy, not once, but twice. You've done deep work. You've done trauma work. You've done all of that work. There are still closets. And I can tell you the only reason why those closets, look, if I was not going to live a spiritual life, I would suit up, show up, and shut up. That's what I would do. If I was going to live a life that just, like a military life, I would bury it. I would bury these things. But I want to live a spiritual life. And in order for me to live a spiritual life, I need to know what it's like to love. And as long as these closets are full of shit, conditionings, as long as they're full of that, I'm not going to be able to advance. And even that word kind of pisses me off. It's not about advancing, expanding. I'm not going to be able to grow. I'm not going to be able to expand. I'm not going to be able to experience what it means when people say true love of God. Because if I don't have true love of self, which is a tiny, tiny drop of what maybe can be some sort of true love of God. If I don't have that, how the hell am I gonna do that? Yes, we have mercy. Yes, we have mercy. Krishna bestows many miracles, and I've lived them. And I have experienced so many miracles in my life that I'm clean, I'm sober, that I'm here, that I'm talking, that anyone's even fucking listening is a miracle. Holding on to what I fear is not doing anything but affecting the way I see life, the way I see God, the way I see my fellow man. And that's why it's the most important thing to be thorough. But also, secondly, the most important thing is not only to be thorough, but to know that you've done the best that you could with what you had at that time. It's not static. It's dynamic. This life is dynamic. Things come and things go. Krishna creates and destroys everything. Everything that's here. And we're just tiny little backwards mirrors of Krishna's potency. And that mirror is so clouded. It's not only just a mirror and backwards and upside down like the banyan tree, which I'm not even going to go into. I'm just going to keep it real simple. It's clouded and dirty. And it's the same. Look, when somebody tells me, I've heard this often actually, hey, you've been going to the 12-step program for like 35 years. And these are people, of course, who aren't really in the 12-step program or not really God conscious in that way. And they'll say something like, yeah, you've been going to the 12-step program for this many... I don't want to be mocking. Okay, so they just said, you've been going to the 12-step program for so many years. Don't you think you don't need it anymore? And it sounds absolutely like the most ridiculous statement because it is as absurd in my mind to say, oh, you've had a shower 35 years ago. Why do you keep doing it? Why do you keep showering? You're clean. Why do you keep showering? Many people would say this is like morbid, like I don't want to keep talking about alcohol, and I don't want to keep talking about this, and I don't want to keep talking about that, and I don't want to keep talking about those dirty closets, and I don't want to do that. I get it. Fucking either do I. But I know if I don't, that will fester, and it will bite me in the ass. And believe me, going through the castle of my mind with many hidden chambers, it's always a surprise to find another closet. Oh my God. Even when I'm not even looking for it. And then there is this sort of modern narrative. I don't even know if it's a modern narrative. There is a narrative where it says don't concentrate on any of that. Concentrate on only good, only healing, only God's love. Yes, do that too. It's not one or the other, it's both. It's both. At least for me it is. The gap between what I know and what I live. That's where all of the miracles happen, while the pain happens. And yes, pain is a huge part of my spiritual journey. I wouldn't trade it for the world, people. Don't they say pain is the greatest motivator? Well, yeah, and if you're sitting there with your arms crossed and saying that's not me, well, then God bless you. You must have had some pretty good karma in your last life and in this life. And that's great. And I know people like that, and I find it amazing. So I've been wandering around in the castle of my mind and finding things that I always kind of suspected were there, but avoided. And they live in my body. It's like this dissociation of a castle of my mind. The castle is me, this material manifestation. And in that material manifestation, it lives in there. Right? The issues are in the tissues, right? Also want to I reached out to a devotee, a very senior devotee. And I don't think anyone has helped me like he has. He literally, figuratively, but literally as well, held my hand and stood in front of that closet and said, I'm here for you. We're going to go through every piece of shit in that closet. And with that, he was saying, you're not alone. What could I pray for better than that? That's true love. That's support. That's the person I want to be. Anyway, this person will never listen to my podcast. And I'm not going to out this person, but I'm eternally grateful for that one moment where I felt completely held and loved. That was the missing link. That's the missing link. Having a space that is truly held and feeling accepted, not censored, and loved. Anyway, guys, that's what I'm hoping that we all do. The work in the gap. The work in the gap, because that's the only thing, especially for someone working a program and somebody in Krishna consciousness, that's where the magic is. We can read. That's easy. Almost everyone can read. And if you can't read, listen. And if you can't listen, ask, talk. There's many ways. It's a very practical thing. And yeah, we live, we breathe, we wake up, and we do our life. But what we actually know and how we actually live what we know, there it is. And we can only do what we're aware of. And how do we become aware of it? Through spiritual practice. And some of that spiritual practice requires emotional surgery. Yeah. That's my fact for the day. I'm going to enjoy this lovely day and keep walking. All right, everyone. I'll see you next week. Hare Krishna.
Thanks for listening. I hope you liked the Monday Shorties. Don't forget to check out our full-length episodes on Thursdays. If you like what you heard, spread the word. Peace out.
सर्वधर्मान् परित्यज्य मामेकं शरणं व्रज.
The miseries of material existence and the most hopeless conditions of life is the best possible opportunity to turn to God.